Howdy, folks. I'm not late this time. Apologies
Not
in
too late.
advance again for Sunday. The last time it was supposed to be me running the show, but Dan run the shit. But as you know, me and Dan are co-hosts now. Well, we're both here from the start tonight. We'll have a few more popping on as we go. I think Jacob's going to be here shortly from one up top. Dietrich loves it. Dietrich was here last week with Stel, and we had some good debate. So yeah, those boys will be on shortly. Now, looking at the league table, fourth, 1 point in front of Villa. We were top 8 days ago. We were top. We were going to win the league.
Slipping, innit? Slipping.
According to some, not all. You know, I don't want to blow my own trumpet or Dan's trumpet, but we were not saying we're even in a title challenge, let alone in the title hunt right now. So, yeah, before we get going, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. That notifies you of future content. We've got super chats on as well. We've got a few people in the chat already. Get in the chat. Tell us what you're thinking. We'll try and get through a few of the comments. It's easier on the solo shows to get through the comments, but we still try and get through as many as we can. But just before we start, I don't know if anyone's seen this, but this is doing the rounds on Twitter, and that's beautiful. That is beautiful, isn't it? It looks like something from, what do you call it, like Sim City or something like that.
Yeah, something more like South Park.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would personally, it does look South Parky, didn't it?
It
I
does.
would shake Levy's hand. If this happened, I would shake his hand. I wouldn't forgive him for anything, and I would quickly go straight back to Levy out. But that's a beauty. Right. But I don't want to go too much in detail about the Wolves game. We've got, the Spurs community, the Spurs YouTube channels, it's diluted and it's been talked about enough.
Yeah.
But there was one thing I wanted to put up here, Dan, and for the people watching. So this is with Veliz and Phillips, both youngsters signed in the summer, of course, £20 million. So 13, I think, for Veliz, 7 million for Phillips. Worth that people count as transfer spend, but not even viable options in an injury crisis. We didn't go with them on Sunday, especially surprising with Phillips. This is Enoch in a nutshell. Let me get the rolling banner off. This is the world of Hotspur on Twitter. He runs a few people up the wrong way sometimes. But I'd actually agree with a lot of what he says. So Enoch in a nutshell, happy to spend on random kids for the future, but not on their urgent needs for the actual season ahead. Profit over glory. What do you make of that? Dan, the not playing of, I suppose, Phillips, especially against Wolves, having two centre-backs out.
Well, yeah, it's Levy and Enoch all over. But at the end of the day, it's Ange who made the decisions on whether he give Phillips a go or not. And it's either one or the other. He even didn't think he was good enough, or he's just not willing to take that risk where, like I've said in others, I think it was the perfect game for him to maybe try that risk, because again, if we'd have lost it and Phillips would have messed it up, I don't think we'd have got any stick for it, because they'd have been giving Ange credit to take the chance of putting Phillips on there instead of Dier. And I think he should have messed about with a few different things up the top, but again, it's nothing we ain't already talked about.
Jacob, what's happening, my man?
You all right, mate?
Yes.
Yeah, boys, how's it going?
Great deal, because we're always running late, so you missed about 2 minutes. I'm not sure if you saw that tweet I put up.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, so it's more for me. That's more to do with Phillips. We might need Veliz down the road, because Son's going away for a month, isn't he? For the Asia Cup. But I mean, right now, that game on Sunday, both centre-backs missing. Phillips was signed in the summer. Everyone was saying he's our third centre-back, maybe our fourth centre-back behind Dier. Clearly not. We went with Dier and Davis. I mean, looking at the lineup against Wolves, not even talking about the game, were you surprised? We went with Dier and Davis at centre-back?
In a way, no. I think if we hadn't played Chelsea and Dier had to come on, I reckon Andrew would have tried him, but because he come on against Chelsea and everyone was raving about how he scored this goal and he had a good half hour, I knew he was going to play. Yeah, I just don't get it, man. It's like we had Emerson Royal, who's a right back, playing left back. Yeah, Ben Davies is a left back, playing in centre half, and Dier playing in centre half when we had a centre half on the side. I don't get it. And for me, Ange, like Dan said, is probably culpable for this, because you made it quite clear that Dier weren't part of the plans. That video come out when he was kind of saying to the Tottenham photographers, there's no point in you recording me because I'm not part of the plans. And then all of a sudden he's he's starting in our back line over somebody that was part of the plans, because if Mickey or Romero had come off in any of them given games, you know, Phillips was the guy that was going to come on and play. So, yeah, it's just, it didn't make sense to me, man. It was just, it was even more heart-wrenching that I went and watched the mess. You know what I mean?
But do you know what? What you said is true, because I was at the Chelsea game and Emerson moved into centre-back. And, of course, Davis is a natural left-back. So I thought, predicting the lineup going into the Chelsea game, going into the Wolves game, I thought, right, Emerson's going to play centre-back and Davis is going to play left-back. But we played two people out of position, quite frankly. Yeah. I would have probably preferred Emerson just playing centre-back. To be fair, Davis wasn't terrible. He wasn't terrible in there, but just looking at the lineup surprised me, the fact that Phillips wasn't put in there. And at the end of the day, you know, Ange simply, he just doesn't think they're good enough. That has to be it. Doesn't think that Phillips is good enough. And you've got to look at the recruitment side of things and say, you know, why do we sell Sanchez on the final day of the season? Dietrich, how you doing, my man? I'll put that to you. I want to put that question to you. I'll put it straight to you, brother. Why did we sell Sanchez on the 31st of August? Did you find that incredible?
No, bro, I'm not surprised. It's always the same story. It happened. Do you guys remember with Toby when we sold them to Qatar on like the last week and we didn't buy a replacement? Like, that's not the first time it happens. But the only problem I had, we should have bought 2 center backs, and then if you want to sell them, it's fine. Like, I don't have an issue. But you sell your third best center back to keep Dier that you're not going to play. Does it make sense, Ange? Like, I'm not calling out Ange, but it just didn't make sense, in my opinion.
But I'll tell you what, this time last week, we had Stell on, there was a few of us. Yeah. It was getting a bit fiery. You were saying, you was on the side of the fence that, you know, Ange is overrated. You know, he's been lucky at this point to a certain extent. I think you've sort of been proved right in many ways, because we've had injuries for the first time to our starting 11, and it was Conte. Did you see, for me, against Wolves, I'm thinking this is Conte.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's like Conte game.
Yeah, that's why I say a real manager can prove himself when everything goes wrong, and then he finds a way to get a result. That's how you know, like, if you have a real manager or not.
Yeah, but this is, in his defence, this is only like what? I mean, you can't blame him for the Chelsea one. This is Chelsea, the one where it's got good. This is the one where, yeah, he's made a wrong or two decision on this one, I'd say, but it's going to take a long time before I start turning on him yet. I think a lot of people turn too quick.
But let me ask you guys a question.
Go for
you
it.
Guys, like, we're not football players, we're not football coaches, managers, nothing. But, like, we don't need, like, a degree to know that playing Davis and Dier at center back in 2023, you're not asking for trouble or asking for your job. Like,
Davis had a very good game.
He had a good game, but we know it's not. It's once in a lifetime.
Do you know what the problem is? Even if, you know, because when I was at the game, I was watching it. I was like, you know, watching it live, I thought to myself, like, towards the 80th minute, none of them have really had a bad game at the back. The problem is that even at their best, they're not good enough.
Exactly. Shocking.
Pedro Porro done all right. You know, he did what he was supposed to do. Emerson Rowe looked so uncomfortable. Like, watching.
That was an understatement.
Semedo just had him on toast. You know, Ben Davies did what he did under Conte. The reason why everybody was praising him under Conte is because if Ben Davies did make a mistake, he had 2 defenders covering him. But and Eric Dier didn't even look that bad. But a real talk.
No, he didn't look that good. But that second goal was his.
No, what I'm saying is, you see Eric Dier, yeah? My issue is that in his head and physically, he's far too slow. Like, watching him live, I generally thought to myself, yeah, I reckon if I raced him, I'll be able to keep up with him. And this is meant to be our centre half, like I don't know how to explain it. He's meant to be our most, in terms of, you know, the ones that are fit anyway, he's meant to be our most experienced centre half. Out of all the back four, he was the only body that actually has played centre half before. And he just weren't convincing. The amount of ball watching you could see him doing, and Andrew's going
that second goal.
That second
goal where he blatantly stood there.
The first goal, he refused to engage. He's done it so many. He refused to engage.
He's done that in the second.
It's more about putting his arms behind his back, putting the rest of the team in danger. I didn't realise at the time that he hoofed the ball out before for the throw-in as well, didn't he? He tried to play the ball down the line, And he just hoofed it out. And so he's initially to blame for the throw-in as well. And the second goal, what was he doing? He was just in no man's land.
I mean, it weren't all down to him. It weren't all down to him.
Of course it wasn't. It wasn't down to him.
But that second goal...
denominator, when you look at Dier and Davis, the common denominator over the last 2-3 years, they're just not good enough.
Yeah.
And it was
that second goal, he could have stopped that if he'd have come out towards the man. He didn't. He didn't even go at him. He didn't even give it a go. So when he's your final man, your centre back, then he's the final one to blame for that for me.
But even the first goal, even the first goal, if you watch it back, first mistake he made, like he couldn't clear the ball properly. But then, like you see, Poro, like he got skinned by I forgot who. I think it was Cunha that skinned him. If you go and try to protect the right back, your job as a center back, you should tell your midfielder to take your position. But like he didn't even say one word. He was just looking at the man backing off, and he just crossed. Easy, control, goal. Honestly, we don't have good center backs. We don't have good leaders. We have nothing in the squad. That's just my personal opinion.
Especially when we lose one to injury. The only depth I see anywhere across the squad is centre mid to a certain extent. Not Cam. I said this for a long time. Everyone was like, "Oh no, we don't really need a Cam. We need a striker more." But I'm telling you now, without Maddison and the backup that we have for Maddison is Hotspur, putting him in the centre midfield. It's Conte. This was a Conte side on Sunday, and the amount of shit that Conte got coming his way, I found incredible, to be quite honest with you, because we finished 7th, 6th. He got us 4th.
You know what?
Finished
in
8th.
That whole game,
and this is what Conte had. This is the squad he had.
But what would you have said is the biggest problem we had in that game?
Creativity.
There you go. Yeah, I totally agree. We couldn't even go for a you score 3, we score 4 because we had no one to create a bloody goal. I mean, the only way we got the goal, lo and behold, is the way I've been telling everyone we should be doing it. Get Kulusevski to cut in a bit and get Porro on the right to do what? Drill it across. Lo and behold, they go and do exactly what I said, and lo and behold, we get another goal again. Maybe I should be his co-manager. But apart from that, well, that's what I've been telling everyone, isn't it? And it worked again. We haven't got no choice of a playmaker there, except for me personally. Again, I'd stick Kulusevski as the playmaker at the moment because he's the only one we got a chance of doing anything as playmaker with. But and then just a quick one. When I done show the other day with a couple of people on here, Mia, Ben, and Robbie, I think was on there. Actually, Ben come up with a really good idea. I thought it was one that a few people wouldn't think of. Lo Celso, play him on the left. Don't necessarily play him as a winger, but he does it for Argentina. And, you know, like Maddison does for England and has done it for us, you know, run out to the left a little bit to then get a ball into the middle and whatever. It's another thing we could try. This was the point I was making the other day. Chances, change. It's the next couple of days. We got to find something that works because it's all good going on about the defence. We know that's screwed. But we got to do something to score goals. Otherwise, we haven't got a chance in hell. So how does that sound to you for a decision? Kulusevski behind Son, Johnson on the right, and give Lo Celso a go on the left?
I think if you put them to, I don't know. I get where you're coming from, but I think in modern day football, when you've got, you know, that's pretty much. Remember, like when we had Bale and Lennon on the flanks, and they just stayed there. It was wicked because, you know, they'd take on their players and cross it in. The problem is that if we was going to do something like that, we need somebody that can either hold up the ball or win headers. Because when I was watching Son last week, it was like because he had no Maddison, no one to food off. Huh?
Kulusevski, he can hold the ball as good as anyone.
Yeah, but he'd be in the midfield position trying to look to play off of somebody.
No, what I'm saying is play him as Maddison, basically. Go on the pitch, do what you want. Just go on there and do what you want.
I'll get you, yes. So yeah, I'll get you, but I wouldn't, just because if we're the only person we're really getting goals off at the minute is Son, and effectively, if you play that way, that's going to stay the same way. So if Son don't get a goal, then who's getting it?
Dietrich, you go next, Dietrich. I've got a say on this. Definitely what Dan's just put forward there, but go on, Dietrich.
I have a better idea. How about like we play the same type of players on the position and playing, but when we go forward, they interchange. So Kulu, instead of staying on the wing, goes in midfield and Pro pushes up. So that's how you're going to create, have a bit of creativity. And then you tell one of the center mids to take Pearl's like defensive mid CDM position. Like that's what I would do. But if he plays the same lineup as we did against Wolves, then serious questions have to be asked, in my opinion.
You know what it is? I think Ange has realised how bad some of our players are, because when we played at the weekend, I don't know if you lot noticed, but we weren't really pushing up that much. I don't know what it looked like on the telly, but when I was watching, I was thinking, why are we not pushing up?
Yeah, but they can't. But Jacob, this centre back partnership are not capable of pushing up to the halfway line, because if they do, they're going to get destroyed. So
well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, Ange against Chelsea, we had 9 men, and he was pushing up, and said that's the way we play. And then we played Wolves and didn't do it. Do you think that's what? Do you think maybe he did say that to the players, but Dier and Davies are so used to dropping ultra deep, he just dropped up.
It's not like he hasn't seen it. We saw it against Fulham in the League Cup. So it already happened, that situation, where he told his players push up and they just started playing like a low block.
Yeah,
so I don't know if he told them.
Screaming at them, and he could just see, like, even though he was going mad at them, they weren't pushing up. Like and because I was sat with the Wolves fans, I was seething. But you can't say nothing because as soon as I open my mouth, I'm getting chucked out. But
what are the Wolves ultras like? Because I know you're from the Wolves ends, yeah, Wolverhampton. What are the Wolves ultras like? They can't be that bad, surely.
No, they were right. To be honest, I just kept my mouth shut. And I had this one geezer trying to talk to me, and I just kept nodding and pretending I was foreign and that, because I knew if I opened my mouth, there's one point where I responded to him with the same accent and that, and he generally thought I was from up here. But they ain't too bad. But it was horrible though when they scored the winner. Do you know what I mean? I had to sit there and I was like that. But deep down, I
knew it was coming.
Do you know what I mean?
Knew it was coming. I knew. Yeah. Do you know the Liverpool own goal through Matip? You just knew the way the game was going with the decision. Yeah. You knew that was coming somehow.
Actually,
I knew this was coming. You just knew that winner was coming.
Tommy, we saw it when he brought on Gil and Gio for the at the last 10 minutes. You knew it was going to happen. Those are not the players that you're going to bring to keep a 1-0 lead.
Right, I want to have a little my say on what Dan put forward. I just wrote it down a little bit. I mean, it doesn't take much thinking about, but obviously Son would be up front. If this is what Ben said, right? Kulu at cam. Did Ben say Kulu at cam? Lo Celso on the left, Johnson on the right. Now the only natural position there is Johnson on the right, which is okay. I think Johnson's best position will be on the right. He played there for the majority of his career, not at Forest before we signed him. I don't like Kulu at cam. I don't, and I'll tell you why I don't like Kulu at cam, because the only goal we scored the other day was Kulu on the right. Great little flick to Porro on the right. I think that was the best move of the game. It was a great early goal. And Johnson was on the end of it on the left. So Lo Celso on the left, I don't know. Maybe it's worth trying something, but I think it's more to do with the fact that Udogie isn't there supporting the left winger. I think it's to do with the fact that obviously we don't have that Maddison to come out and create. And of course the centre backs, as Jacob said, we can't push that defence forward. If you push the defence forward, the attacking side of the game naturally goes forward as well, but we drop so deep.
And we don't even know if Udogie's going to be fit either, do we? Because
he's had a knock again, hasn't he? He's had a knock again.
Yep, he's been basically, they've said he's injured. He can't get in the Italian team.
But that reminds me of Pochettino. It was the same injuries every time. I don't know, if he's overworking his players, but it looks like it.
Right. I'm gonna get to a pretty basic question now. Yeah. I want to see what people say. Do you know, I like to think the guests we've got on here and the people in the chat are pretty smart, thinking that, we were never really in a title chase to begin with. But
we weren't.
Title hunt, Jacob, I'll start with you. After Sunday's loss, any chance we're in a title challenge this season? 12 games in now.
No.
Yeah. For me, you knew it because I generally believe everyone in this group knows their football. So it's like even when we're going into the season, I thought starting lineup. If Ange does something out of that, we have got some players that can win us games. But it was so obvious, even when we was winning them games, that for me, I'm with you, Tommy. I just kept saying, I know that Maddison had his injuries at Leicester. I was like, take him out of the team. Forget anybody else. Take him out of the team. It's game over. Take Mickey van der Ven, game over. And then all of a sudden, that Chelsea game, what I pretty much said over a period of 4 or 5 weeks happened in about an hour. So, it is, I don't even, You know, I kept saying that, you know, you can't keep up with Man City because they've got the money. But I always look at, you know, as much as I say it's Arsenal. Arsenal haven't spent that much money, but what it is over a period of time, if a player like, say, Declan Rice comes out, yeah, they've got a player like Jorginho who ain't great, but there isn't that massive gulf. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like if let's say Saliba gets injured, they got Ben White. If they got to have a Ben White for 2-3 weeks in there, it's not that deep. Whereas with us, we go from like Romero, World Cup winner, to Eric Dier, who we didn't want. You know, we go from
and the first thing we chatted about today, Jacob, was me saying, why did we sell Sanchez? And Sanchez is nowhere near good enough. Even if we kept Sanchez, but it's just slightly better than the shit we have right now.
Here we go.
It's like you got
another guest here to argue this one quickly. Everyone, say hello to Ashmatic. He's here for a big quick debate with us as well. How you doing?
What's going on, people? Hope you don't mind me being on.
Mate? Long time no see.
Yeah, of course not, man.
Yes, bless. Thanks for having me on, people, as well. Big up yourselves. Speak up to everyone in the comments as well in the chat. So what's Spurs? Spurs.
Ash, 8 days ago, we were winning the league. We were unbeaten. 8 days later, maybe 9 days later, got my maths out a little bit there.
You know what it is?
We're fourth, 1 point above Villa.
I'll be real. These 2 games, a lot of fans thought we were going to win it. We thought we were going to beat Chelsea, and we thought we were going to do Wolves in. And so the expectation was, like, if we do those 2 games, and I'll put myself in the Chelsea game. I said, if we beat Chelsea, I think we might be onto something. I ain't gonna lie to you, but that was a test for me because Chelsea were very emotional as fans, and some of the players as well. They're quite emotional.
Mate,
well. And I
Chelsea
think
was emotional.
We got drawn out. I feel like that's what I think. Some of the players. I think Romero got drawn out. Do you know what I'm saying? I think he got drawn out, and I think we kind of lost that mental battle. That's what I saw. That's what I thought. I thought if he had his head on and he didn't get carried away, he doesn't get sent off, and a lot of things change in that game. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I think we take it to them. We still have 11 men, and bro, even 10 men, we were causing them problems. And I just thought that Chelsea game was almost like a turning point. I was always worried about Wolves because I saw what they did against City. I watched the Liverpool game. Liverpool were in trouble. Newcastle, I watched that game as well. I said, listen, Gary O'Neill, I see him on Sky Sports, and he was doing an excellent breakdown on Tottenham.
I saw that. Was it on Monday night?
For a second. Then he was talking about our coach, Wells, about our defensive line. He's like, he's a great coach. I've worked with him. I said, nah, something don't feel right, my G. I listened. I said, right, I'm not really sure about Wolves either. So then I'm not saying like out of the 2 games, I'm going mad, like I'm losing all faith and all of that, because like we've lost quite a few players. If you take anyone's spine out, Arsenal, Man U, you saw what Man City happened when Rodri went missing. You saw what happened to them. They lost games straight.
Yeah, of course it does.
So I'm not saying Spurs all of a sudden. We got to put it into context, but we
weren't no title contenders, were we? From day.
No, we never were.
And most of us know that.
Yeah, I know. I hear it, and I'm with that. I'm saying, like, for me, not for everyone else. For me, I got excited. I'm not gonna lie. I said, if we do Chelsea, I'm not gonna lie. My head might be in the clouds. My head might be gone.
Because that was if you beat Chelsea, that name comes up, and it's Leicester. It's the Foxes, and you're thinking 15, 16, 30 points.
That's what it was. But I'm not panicking. If we
would have beat Chelsea,
I'm not panicking. That's the main thing I'm trying to get to you lot. I'm not panicking. My expectation at the start of the season was 8th, but because we had 10 wins, not 10 wins, but we went 10 games undefeated, I had to move the mark up a little piece. And I said, I didn't expect to start like the way he started. I didn't expect Vicario to be on stuff. And then like it's just all kind of worked. Madison dribbling, and Udogie dribbling. The amount of ballers that when they get on the ball, they're so technical, they can carry the ball up like half our team technically just I didn't expect that. So my expectation changed straight away. But now we obviously knew about the depth. I thought 1 game a week would be all right, but clearly not. Like the depth is just.
It was always going to come back to haunt us. You got Christmas. We got an early indication. We got early indication of it against Fulham when we made 9 changes. How bad the depth was. We were shocking in that game. And then it came to fruition after the Chelsea game. And I'll tell you what, we were good in that game. As you say, even down to 10 men. That second offside goal that I thought was in when I was there at the ground. Had that gone on, we would have gone on to win that Chelsea game. But the depth, it would have hit us at some point.
It would have, but I'm so glad that we've had the trip up now, and I'm so glad that the expectation has dropped a little bit. Do you see what I'm trying to say? I'm so glad that the fan base have been put onto some type of reality check, because we needed it. Some of us fans needed that.
Basically, what you're saying is,
not all fans.
If we'd have left it longer. No, but what you're saying is, if it would have been left on longer and say gone on till late December, January, and then all of a sudden this happened and fell to pieces, people would have found it a lot harder to take it that we was never in the race as such.
Definitely. Now I look at these next few games and I'm like, raw. These are the games I was expecting to lose. I'm not gonna lie. The way Villa are playing, everyone's like, people are still saying now we'll do Villa. I'm not sure, because I remember last season at home,
Villa have had a beating or two though.
No, they have. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm just saying, for what I saw last season against Villa, and I was saying, people were calling me a Villa fan because I was breaking down Villa, like the problems they're gonna cause. And they were like, bro, why are you a Villa fan or something, brother? I said, listen, I just know the quality of Villa. Do you understand? This season, I think they're a little bit better. I'm not going to lie to you.
They had an incredible summer as well. For me, if you look at the transfers, you know, I look at them and I think they've done the best business. They've done the best business. I know Tielemans is not smashing it, but they're adding players like that.
The last game, though. Tielemans, the last game. Hey, listen.
And Dier looks incredible. Pau Torres, you know.
I mean, look,
Torres for a long time. I always look at transfer rumours on my Thursday solo show, and a lot of the rumours coming out are like fullbacks, when they've already got good fullbacks. They're looking at depth already. They've got Matty Cash and Dier. They're looking at right backs and left backs. Just improve the depth at least. And it's something that we've got missing. At the end of the day, nobody could predict we'd lose all those players in that short space of time.
This is it, bro.
Never.
But there you go. And Dan, title race, Spurs in the title hunt. I mean,
never.
Look,
we never were.
We're still up there. I mean, literally, we're there. We're 1 point behind the leaders.
Top four, I think we can still make it, yeah? But we was never in a title race. And anyone who thought we was in a title race, fair play, mate. Give me some of whatever you're doing, because it must have been good to be that way. But we was never in a title race. I mean, seriously, whoever thought we was in the title race definitely didn't get the stuff from around the back of the pub. Do you get what I mean? It must have been good stuff. And that's my opinion.
Listen, football's a funny game. And like, obviously, Tommy's already mentioned about the whole Leicester situation. But I'm not comparing us to that season, because there was a lot of factors. I know Chelsea went at it. Pep just came into the league. And Klopp wasn't Klopp yet. Yeah, I'm saying in like Liverpool, he hadn't had the signings that he needed.
It was now, a transitional season, wasn't it?
It's a very exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. So I wasn't there, but I was just impressed that we got going. Because I was expecting us to start slow. You see how we're having it start now? Not the start. See how the 2 games we lost. I was expecting that at the start of the season. You see what I'm trying to say? So the fact that we've got this nice little buffer at the start of the season, we've got loads of points on the ball. We're having our best start in the Spurs Premier League era ever. Do you know what I mean? Despite even having Poch got us our best ever total for points, but we're surpassing that. I was like, boy, you know what? If we're keeping this up and we're still in the top 4 by Jan, and we get to strengthen like 1 or 2 players, I don't know. Like, you know, sometimes that momentum, like, in a team, in football, when you've got momentum behind you, and a lot of Arsenal fans were coming up to me and they were saying to me, you know what? We're seeing a lot of similarity what we had last season with you lot. And a lot of our fan base is like yours. Like, before we wanted the board out, we had a poor season before that. And I know they're a lot further on their project, but they were saying, listen, we thought we were going to collapse. We thought we were going to collapse. Opposition fans were saying we were going to collapse, but we just kept going. We kept going. We kept going. We kept going. And before you knew it, we were going to collapse.
All right.
But
well, just a quick one. Hang on a sec.
They were in
Hang on a sec. Just a quick one. Want to say thank you to Dale Denton for your money. Much appreciated, mate.
For the super chat. And I want to say it's Daryl Denton, when he puts the super chat in, he doesn't put a message in, but I always star messages that I want to call out anyway. And this was one of them, because I know Daryl very well from coming on the chat. And he always said to me, I was like, he was very, very precise. He went, game week 13, it starts here. He said this in game 3. He said it in game 6. He said it in game 10. Get to 13 weeks. And look now, it's completely changed. in the game 11, game 12 is completely changed. I don't know what that is. Certainly an unlucky number for us right now. But things do start from here. That's the way we have to look at things. Now there was another message I wanted to read out as well that I saw earlier. Jay Ashraf told me it's the same scenario as last season where everyone was clamoring for Spence to start when Conte said he was not ready, and same is happening with the Phillips demand. Dietrich and Ash came later. We was talking about, we've got Veliz there, we've got Phillips there. Why didn't we use them on the weekend? And that's a very good, response there, and it does have similarities to the Spence signing last year, I think. Spence was more, at least Spence helped get Nottingham Forest promoted, so there's more experience there. Phillips coming off 7 games last season. How much can you really put on a guy that's played 7 games for Blackburn?
Yeah, but there's a difference. Spence never knew the Conte way. Phillips, at least he played with the under 23, so he knows how to play the Tottenham way under Ange. So it's an unknown quantity, but at least he knows how to play he knows the philosophy of Ange. Spence,
I think sometimes you just got to play a wild card, because it's like, for instance, look at some people that have come out of nowhere and everyone's like, who's this guy? And then all of a sudden their careers boomed off. Like, look at Rashford. No one knew who Rashford was, and then he turns up against Arsenal, bangs 2 goals, and the rest is history. Now he's their highest earner. Nobody knew Rashford, but Van Gaal had no strikers, chucked him in. Next thing you know, so for me, it's like, imagine if we play Villa next game, and they're all preparing for Son this, Kulusevski that, Basuma this, or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden, half hour in, Velez comes on. Emery's going to be like, who's this guy? But then if he comes on and smashes it, then that's him set, and we're going to need the bodies for the season. But if you're just going to keep leaving him on there until, I don't know, the thing is, though, when is Velez going to get a chance? Because you're just going to leave Son on for 90 minutes. If he gets injured, then what? Richarlison's injured, so you're going to have to put him on anyway. So you might as well start giving him minutes.
It's mad because Rashford came on literally for his start. I think it was Europa League, was it not? He come on.
It was Europa League first, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a shame that obviously lots of fans were asking for 1 game a week. But had we got Europa, then I think some of these youngsters could have been bledded. Like, we could have seen Phillips, we could have seen Veliz get game time. Do you know what I'm saying? But obviously it's not the case. But I agree with you, man. I think 10 minutes. I know it's hard because obviously there's 1 goal in the game. The only game I think where we could have put the youngsters on, like Veliz or Phillips, was in against Burnley when we were winning 5-2. Do you know what I'm saying? I think those are the times when we could have put them in. But most games we haven't blown teams away like 3-4-1. So it's hard to kind of bring them in when there's only 1 goal in a game. You bring a youngster on, and then all of a sudden, imagine a mistake happens, and then all of a sudden the whole 30, 40,000 or 60,000 fans start telling on you. It's like, oh, Phillips, what the hell are you doing? That's going to be detrimental for a young player's development or his mental state. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a hard one. It's not easy.
But this is why, Ash, last season, when we say we finished 8th, we got no Europe for the first time in 14 years. There's a positive. The positive is it's 1 game a week. We don't need as much depth in the squad. But as you say, you don't have even Europa League, even Conference League. You chuck Phillips in here and there. You can give Villas some minutes. There is the other side of that, and you've got a 4th opportunity to win a trophy. Quite frankly, right now, I think it's safe to say we're not going to win the Premier League title. Even the most pessimistic of us can agree we're not going to win the Premier League title. We've got FA Cup. That is literally it. We've got the FA Cup left to win, and we're going to mess about and put the youngsters in there. I don't think we are. We haven't got an opportunity to blood those youngsters right now. That's why I always said, even if it's Conference League, just it'll be nice to have something. But it's not the case.
But he didn't take. This was my whole point on what I said the other day. He could have took a chance here with Wolves and got away with it, basically. Because the people, I know he hasn't got much option, whatever, and that with what's sitting there. You can't blame him for that. But we already knew that it did not work. Because he basically, bar 2 players, had the same as Conte's had. So again, this is where I feel he should have took the. If he weren't going to take the chance in defence, he should have messed about with something up front.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think he took his gamble when he could have and he would have got away with it, even if we'd have lost, basically.
Right, something I want to move to now. I don't think it's been talked about a great deal, but we're getting a lot of sending offs recently. A lot of yellow cards. Basuma got sent off, 2nd yellow for diving, and he's 1 yellow away from another suspension. Is Ange too soft on his players? I've seen this before with managers. I've seen this with the Kevin Keegans. especially. He comes in,
that's going
players
back
love
some.
him, fans love him, plays attacking, vibrant football, but just a bit too soft. Bit too soft in the players. Very, very early days, but you know, a lot of sending offs in a short period of time. Any way you can see that Dan, that Ange is being too soft on his players? Do you see him a little soft on the players?
I really can't answer that one because I mean, still at the end of the day, none of us really have a clue about Postecoglou. We really don't. We've only got a rough idea of how he works on the pitch, and that's because it's only over 13 games altogether, including the league game. And I don't know. I don't think he's quite so happy-go-lucky behind the scenes as such. I reckon he's definitely got a bit of a. He's probably got a bit of a side to him, sort of thing. But I just don't know if he's basically told them to go out there and play as you want, get stuck in, whatever. That's where you'll get repercussions when you're asking players to get stuck in. But when you get people do idiot things like Romero did, I hope he gets a fine for that because he was so hot-headed that he should have brought a tampon on with him. He was seriously, he was though, wasn't he?
Don't worry, I've looked at the algorithms. We don't get ladies watching this show. It's like 99.9% men.
Oh, whether we do or don't, we all know what they're there for.
Women, men, I don't know. We're not getting into that. But
yeah, I was gonna say, you don't know who's in your chat now, mate. It could be, you know, non-binary, all sorts.
Mate, we'll be cancelled. Like, I'm doing a solo show Thursday. Maybe we won't have a solo show Thursday. Just for saying, just for speaking.
But my point is, if he's a normal manager, I shall say, Romero's gonna have at least got a slap for what he did and get a fine for it. And the other one that I would have gone sick on if I was him would have been Basuma for that dive, because I'm a firm believer that the second someone dives and they can prove it was an out-and-out dive, it should be a red card on the spot, not even just a yellow. And I wouldn't want my players diving. So it won't be until towards the end of the season we'll be able to suss him out more on whether he's soft or not. I mean, like, Dietrich, what do you think on that, mate?
For me, like, since watching Spurs, this is the first time I see a really undisciplined team in every position. Usually under Conte and Mourinho, we didn't have many red cards, many yellows. But this team, I just don't get it. I thought we had 3 leaders in this group, but nobody can keep the discipline. And it's not like they're teenagers. Like, most of them are 25 and plus, like Basuma, Romero, and everyone. So maybe he's being too soft with them, but I actually don't know because I'm not in the dressing room.
That's only one game we've really seen them lose their discipline on, really, yeah? I mean, others, when you're playing box to box and you've got to tackle and also you're going to cause fouls when you're playing as any sort of defensive midfielder sort of thing. I don't think anyone's played that,
it's
you
mostly,
know, like don't care, get stuck in until the Chelsea game where everyone just totally lost the plot.
It's not those kind of yellow cards that piss me off. It's the ones that, like, they made a rule, like, don't come up to the ref or scream at him. You saw Basuma, he did it many times this year where he went to the ref for no absolute reason and he got yellow card. Like, those are stupid yellow.
I agree.
Kind of undisciplined things that I don't like, in my opinion.
It wasn't
fair enough.
It's not just the recent red cards, though. I mean, Udogie before his red card against Chelsea should have got sent off. Should have got sent off before he got the red card. Missile drop kick.
I think
Romero with his Beckham type flick to the shins that I missed because I was at the ground should have got sent off as well. This is what I say. You know, it could have been another 2 sending offs. That for me is lack of discipline. But then Romero, how are you gonna? Who can control Romero? Really? Are we asking Ange?
He's not going to change.
He's just a.
He's a gunslinger. He should be, you know, he wouldn't be out of place in Spaghetti Western, would he?
You just can't rely on him, man. You just know full well everybody will get in the huddle with all, but everybody calm down. Let's just keep it this, blah 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 blah. But Romero's brain's going nuts.
And
he's just like, yeah, you know what? So it's like one of the ones that, you know, boys, you know, let's go out and have a few beers, no fights, and then everybody's calm. But Romero's got a knife on him just in case.
And we even conceded so many penalties this year. Like the amount of penalties.
Yeah, but that ain't been down to Romero. One of them, it wasn't even his fault that it is hand, but for me, that was a handball. But the thing is with Romero, he is a quality defender, but he's 25 now. As far as I'm concerned, you ain't going to change him. Yeah. And the problem is with a defender like that, there's no if. he will cost you a game. And what if that game isn't just a league game and it's a cup final, or it's that final game we need to get into the Champions League? Because he's more than capable of doing it. Look what he did with AC Milan. He's 25. He's a World Cup winner, and he's not going to change. So no matter how much we've tried bigging him up over the from the start of this season, because we think he'd totally changed, he's totally proved he hasn't. At the end of the day, like it or lump it, he is always going to be that liability that you're looking over the shoulder at. Will he do something stupid?
And just to add to what you said there, Dan, it's like when you look at Tottenham this season, he's going to be our vice captain. But when he's been spoke about in a negative light, it's been all the big games. You know, when we played Man United, he come out like a goalkeeper. When we played Arsenal, it was he gave away a penalty and an own goal. Chelsea got sent off. Liverpool had a couple of dodgy moments as well. It's like I feel that he bigs him up so much for the big, like when he's playing your Wolves, your Fulhams, he's nice and composed. He's even pulling people out of fights. But then when it's like Liverpool, Tottenham, Man City, he'll just go and do something stupid. I think that's what his problem is. He just builds himself up because it's a big game, loads of people watching, fans are going wild. And while everybody's calm, like I said, he's got a knife in his pocket.
11 games, we were, 10 games, I mean. So it was game 11, obviously, you got the sending off. You can't, the superlatives, you can't give him enough superlatives. He was dropping for Van der Ven. He was going against his better instincts, Romero, coming out.
He was playing brilliant.
He was letting VDV do that and he was covering. You thought, this is a different guy, But as Dan said, and as Jacob said, he was a bit dodgy in the Man United game. And then he just completely lost his head. Should have been sent off before he got sent off and then, done what he'd done. I thought it's kind of harsh, the sending off, because he did go for the ball. He did win the ball. But then you look at the opening kicking the player in the back of the legs. That was just
if Curtin Jones,
discipline and leadership.
If Curtin Jones was a red card, then that was a red card.
3 games as well. We lose him for 3 games. It's not his fault we don't have the backup, but he can see in training that his backup is Eric Dier. So he must be like, right, I'm holding back. I'm holding back for the boys here because we can't fucking have him.
Is it 3 games he's out for? I thought it was just the 1.
No, 3.
It's 3. No, 3.
It was an out red, wasn't it?
Got extended.
Yeah, for me personally, like from the videos I've seen of Ange, and this is before he came to the club, he was going mad, on the team. I can't remember what game it was. I think it was the Australian team, but
it was Australia.
Into them. He's going ham. And he says it as well. He says, he doesn't want to talk to man too much and be pally with them. Because certain times you need to rough a man up. So I'm not too sure if Ange is that kind of softy he doesn't come across. I know in the media he's there busting joke with the people, and it's friendly, whatever. You're right, mate, and all of this. But he says it he doesn't really get involved. And when it comes to training, he lets the coaches do what they're doing, all the tactics, whatever. He kind of sits back and he just observes people. He's more of an observer, more of a thinker. But when it comes to talking at halftime or whatever, if he needs to get it in, he can get it in. So I don't know about the whole soft thing. Obviously, we're not behind the closed doors. We're not there to see it. But there's definitely, I agree with you, man. There's definitely an issue with Romero because, as you said, in the big games, he gets mad emotional, and that's when he needs to be that leader. The whole point of him being a part of the leadership group was to kind of eliminate that side of it.
Yeah.
He's just not. And then also, you got to say to the other leaders, you need to pull them up. Or even the man that aren't wearing the armband, that aren't the silent leaders, like Basuma, Ange looking towards him as a leader in himself to say, look, you need to pull him aside and to say, look, bro, you need to calm down because we need you in this game. You can't get rattled. If you get rattled in these games, you lose it. It's as simple as that. When I'm kicking
this is one thing I was scared of with Romero and Van der Ven. I've always looked at, don't get me wrong, them two have been brilliant together, yeah? I've had to step back on that one. Because for me, the way Romero has been since we've had him and the way I've seen him play for Argentina, I always thought he's the sort of player that you need the big brother standing next to him. Slap him in the face and say, get your act together sort of thing. Calm down, basically. He's not the one that you give him a little cuddle and say, no, calm down, boy. It's all right and that. No, he's the one that needs to slap in the face to understand it. And I didn't think that him and Van der Ven would work too well like that because I feel he needs that big brother defender working with him. But they've obviously proved they can work together. But then again, he has also proved that he still needs that slap in the face.
And that's what was so weird. It seemed like he took that leadership on. He took that mantle on and reverted back to a deeper centre back, which you know he's not as comfortable in. And it is just it's horrible. It's horrible to see that. And obviously we're paying a price now, 3 games. Now, what's coming up a lot in the chat is, you know, why don't we trust the youth? Why don't we get into the youth? I Am Han says, what I'm worried about is from our last match, our backup squad doesn't seem to understand the new philosophy and poorly done tactics, not necessarily the youngsters. But Simply A says, our managers treat our youngsters like shit. For all we know, Phillips and Dorrington could be well beaters. Do you know what? I think the conversation should be, is Dorrington going to be the next centre-back? Because he's playing for the under-21s week in, week out. Phillips comes on now and again, but Dorrington looks next in line. And we know how good the under-21s are doing. Benjamin thought a random fact. Yeah, mate, do you know what? I don't have replicas. These are the shirts that people bought in the 90s. I'm going to do a charity show and give some of these away. I love
the yellow one, bro. The yellow one I need to look for. I got it somewhere. But yeah, that top I used to love.
That yellow shirt reminds me of Jason Dezelle. Don't ask me why.
Mate, just having something that reminds you of Jason Dezelle, he'd be delighted. He'd be absolutely delighted.
He'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
You know, I've never even remembered him.
Says it as well. We have to start questioning when the youth will get a chance. Dietrich, do we question Ange because he's not giving youth a chance, or is it the simple fact that they're just not good enough? The players we're bringing in, they're just not good enough.
Yeah, but you can never judge a player for me in training. Like, training doesn't give you the full picture. If you look at Dier, we saw at training, he's one of the best trainers. Like, every manager says it every time and time again. But when you see him on the pitch, you know, like, he can't keep his calm and composure. Nothing. Phillips, it's an unknown quantity. Maybe he might be good. Maybe he's actually not really good enough. So give him a chance. 1 game. And if he performs, then you have a good backup. You don't need to go buy another center back, waste your money on it. Or if he's not good enough, you're gonna show to the fans that actually that our youth is just not good enough, and we need new players.
But I think you know what, Dexter, I disagree with that to a certain extent, because you've got to train. We forget as fans that these boys go in training 4 hours a day. Yeah. You know, the manager, the coaches, they see these players play, you know, day in, day out, hour on hour. And if you're not anywhere near up to the standard, doesn't matter how the prediction of how good they'll play in the big games. If they're no way near up to the standard, which some of these players might not be, we don't know. But they're not getting game time regardless. You go with the experience head. You go with, you know, I don't blame Ange for playing Eric Dier. I wouldn't. I'll play Phillips or Dorrington, but we're not in training. We don't see what's going on behind closed doors.
Even in Ndombele, they always said looked very, very good in training at all times. And that's where other players and also manager have mentioned it, that in training, he's been nigh on like spectacular sort of thing. But when he goes on the pitch, he's absolutely shit. Again, like they said, on training and on pitch, being fit and being match fit, totally different things, aren't they?
For me, you have to be match fit to give a guy a chance. Because, like, what do you have to lose? Like, Dier, like, you know he has 6 months left. What is the point of keeping him playing and you're not going to renew his contract? What is the point? And everyone said, like, that's 6 months. Yeah, and everyone said, like, it's a project, so might as well give him game time for Phillips.
Right. This is the main, well, the title of today's show. I put Ange out there on the thumbnail. And we're turning. I can see the fan base turning on Twitter already. I can see it coming a million miles away. As I said earlier on in the show, look, I started this channel 2.5 years ago. I didn't use social media for anything other than Spurs talk. So I know how the fans operate. I know how quickly they turn. Jose, Nuno, Conte. So I could see it. But how long before they properly turn for you, Dan? In terms, I don't know, hold up the placards, the Ange out placards. Do you see that incoming in the next few weeks? Look, we got Villa next, we got Man City, we got West Ham, Derby, then we got Newcastle. We got some tough fixtures. Let's say we lose to Villa. Let's say we lose to City. How do you think the fickle fan base will operate? Do you think maybe they'll start, you know, Ange out?
Well, it's I've said it enough times before, so I'll say it one more time again. I think Spurs supporters in general are the worst ones out there, along with Liverpool and Arsenal. And if he doesn't take any chances to change it as such, then yeah, you're going to have a few people like us lot on here saying, well, come on, man, get your stuff together sort of thing. You got to try something here. But then you're going to have another big load of people all of a sudden, Ange out. Now, there's nothing wrong with questioning the manager. Even if he wins 99 games and only loses 1, you can still question about that game he lost. Because if you're going to big someone up 24/7, you still got to clock them when they get it wrong, even if it's a minority. But yeah, you will get Spurs fans out there, and quite a few of them start thinking that maybe Postecoglou's the wrong one. Maybe we need to start with something, to try again with something else, and it'd be like a 19th manager. We have got one of the worst sets of supporters for it. So it wouldn't surprise me if it happened. And that's a sad thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
And top Spurs. Look, top Spurs, big up. How did Brighton know even Ferguson was going to be good as he is? He could have been absolutely killing it in the reserves. I think he was. At youth level, he was destroying it. And if you are destroying it in training, you'll get your chance. I just don't think some of the players are not doing as well to get those appearances. I trust Ange. He's 57 years old. He's been around the block. If he's not putting the players in at this stage with 2 centre-backs missing, I don't think they're good enough at this stage.
Tommy, let me ask you the difference. What is the difference between, let's say, Skippy and Jimmy Donnelly? One of them is...
You've never seen Jimmy Donnelly?
No, but at least one of them is killing on the U23s and has like a good ceiling. One of them is just not good enough.
Skip was incredible. Skip was incredible for England under 21s. He was playing week in, week out. He's incredible for Norwich. Him and Max Aaron's got him promoted. Yeah,
but he's not good enough.
Well, he's not good enough. Well, he's not good enough, you could say. But if Donnelly's not getting the game time, then the manager still thinks he's not good enough.
So why did he have a good... No, so why... Okay, he played well with Norwich, promote them, same thing as Spence, but Spence didn't get a game time. So what is the difference?
Spence wasn't good enough in training.
But Skip clearly
just because they have good loan deals away, it doesn't matter. You still come back to training. It's not how you do on the loan deals. It's the game time and the training put together. And these players train 4 hours a day. The coaches see them.
I don't think
they know the play. It's a big thing. 4 hours a day seeing players play. That will give you a good idea of whether they're ready or not.
Hazard was the worst trainer, and he was one of the best wingers in the league. So I don't think training has much of a justification of a player's performance.
When you sign for £60 million, you have to put them in. It's as simple as that.
If Hazard doesn't train well, but you see Hazard play, I'd go as far as saying, go home for 3 days and I'll see you on Saturday.
Some of them had an excuse for that.
Dorrington played first team football at Lille. Dorrington, Phillips, Veliz haven't played first team football. You just
look. Some players get that privilege in the aspect of you don't do jack shit in training, but I know you're going to smash it on the pitch. Now and again, you get a player like that. Another one like that, Gareth Bale. Everything I've ever seen about him always said training. He was just one of the laziest ones out there, but when he hit the pitch, he always did his job 9 times out of 10.
Exactly.
Very rare players, but some of them do get that privilege because as long as they
didn't even train.
Well, that's a bit of a different reason, though. He didn't train because his cartilage and that was destroyed. Whereas others don't train that good because they just can't be bothered or they're lazy. But as long as they do it on the pitch.
Right, then Jacob, how long before the fans turn on Ange? Not yourself, knowing the Spurs fans.
Next week. Not next week, after the internationals when we lose to Villa. Because
when we lose to Villa, do you know we only point in front of them?
Yeah, do you know what it is? When people are saying to me, because you're not going to go and beat them, they say, "Might pick a game that you feel you're going to lose." I looked at Villa straight away. I thought Chelsea. I still felt a bit sceptical about that, but I thought it could be a draw. And then Wolves, I thought again a draw. Villa was the one that I looked at because the way they play their football, they are a good watch, man, and they've got good players. Ollie Watkins, Dier, smacking it, and they've got a good setup. And lucky for them, apart from Tyrone Mings, they're not really getting too many injuries. So I feel that after the international break, it's going to get quite techie for Tottenham because I think if we don't get the result against Villa, I think Man City's probably a given, considering the injuries. And then we got, was it West Ham and Newcastle? Like, I'll go as far as saying, with managers, whether it's Tottenham, United, whoever, a manager should be judged on the windows. You know, Nuno weren't great, but he only had one window and got the sack. So for me, it's like we need to give Ange windows. But then you look at Daniel Levy. Look, how many managers are we going to sack before we continue to say? Like, I'll go as far as saying it's been Levy from Conte. So I'll never call Ange out unless Daniel Levy gave him the money that he needed. Now, if he doesn't give him the money and we're still at the end of the season still looking at Phillips to come in, or we're going into next season and we still somehow got Ben Davies, then if Ange gets sacked, I'll wish him all the best and say you shouldn't have come here in the first place because we're just a rubbish club that is run poorly by not supporting managers.
Jacob, I've just asked Jacob. Ash.
Yeah.
How long before the fans turn on Ange? You do social media. We're all on social media here. I think they've turned already slightly, even after the Wolves loss. How long until they go fully?
No, it's funny because you've got the fans in the stadium, you've got the social media fans. I think they're two sets of fans, and I think that a lot of fans went out on some of these managers because they weren't happy with the style of football. And I think how we played against Wolves wasn't the representation of how Ange wants us to play. Now, if we went gun-ho against Wolves and we got beaten, I think it'll be slightly different. I think maybe it'll be a slightly different conversation. But because of the style of football was so poor last season, I think not everyone, I think a lot of fans weren't happy with the style of football, and the results weren't necessarily going the way fans wanted. I think that's where you saw the biggest turner or the biggest divide in the club, because the culture had broken down. And since he's come, I think the culture has gotten better. And so I don't know if a lot of the fans in the stadium will turn and be like, Ange out. Social media is toxic. So, yeah, I can see
that's an understatement.
Let's think about the common denominator. I think Conte got more stick than he deserved. Look at the team. Look at the team he put out on Sunday and tell me, is it that different to what Conte had?
And I think that's the reason.
You can have all the philosophy in the world, but if the players are not capable of stepping up and playing this high press, like Dier, Davis, Royal, Hotspur haven't been in the past, what are you going to do?
I think that's the reason why they will give him at least another window, because he's always come in and said, don't judge me on this first season, judge me on the second season, because he knows by that second season he would have had that another summer window and he would be able to get out some of the players that can't play the way he wants. He can get them out. Like, he's a different manager. I don't think he's going to come out and just throw players under the bus like our previous managers. That's not his style, because he knows he's going to have to rely on them at some point. And how are you going to motivate players if you're throwing them under the bus? I don't think that would work. And I don't think that's his character. So with that being in context, I think that's the only reason why he's gone for the experience. And he's said to the, in front of the media, he's like a media darling. He knows what to say in front of the media. But I don't necessarily think he's saying that. I don't think that's necessarily true what he says, like behind closed doors, or what he actually thinks. Because every time he talks, he looks downwards. He looks like he's processing, he's thinking, and then he comes off and then he says what he says. But I think deep down, he knows Davies and Dier, they've been here for 10 years. It's time for a change. If you're going to change the culture, you need to move some of the old furniture out. And I remember at Celtic, he got rid of a lot of senior players, and a lot of people were shocked that he got rid of a lot of senior players. So I just think he couldn't get all the players out he wanted that summer. That's just gone. And I don't think he's going to get all the players he wants out this January. I don't think he'll get out any, if I'm being honest.
It's going to take a couple of windows, isn't it, to do it?
I mean, a couple of windows. And
this is where you cannot win with Spurs fans, because we all want it now. We all want it yesterday. But it's not going to happen. We've tried that. I mean, all right, Levy went about it wrong. He got in two managers that would have possibly been capable of doing it. But if you bring them two managers in, you need to put the money down there and then for them to do it there and then. But then you got a lot of Spurs supporters also saying, I want us to start trying the younger players again. I want us to process on something. I want us to build something, whatever way. So if we want to process and build and we want to attack, don't be surprised when we lose a couple of games 4-1. don't be surprised when it doesn't all go perfect for the next 2 years. It's a bit of a catch-22. I think we've just got to stick with the manager so he can build his team up, get the players he wants out, get the players he wants in, because it's going to take at least 4 windows, at least 2 years before that squad starts looking like his squad. Not part of Poch, part of Mourinho, part of Conte, part of Nuno, all at the same time. Because we've still got players in there for all of them.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
agree with everyone. I agree with everyone here. I do not trust the fan base. I do not trust them to do this. Everything just clear and obvious. Dietrich, do you trust the fan base to stick with Ange? I think whatever happens, you'll get another window. But for me, it's 2 losses away. We're 2 losses away from pandemonium.
For me, if we lose against West Ham, that's when you're going to see the whole stadium turning toxic.
So 3 games time. 3 games
3
time.
games.
I hope to West Ham. What's that? 7th of December. It's not too far away, mate. I think we're like 5 weeks away from Christmas.
Because
Like,
City, we all know we're going to get embarrassed against City. But West Ham, when we lose against those Hammers, everyone's going to lose it. At the stadium.
When?
Against West Ham.
Do you think we're going to lose? You said when. Like, if, not if, when. When we're going to lose?
No, when we're going to lose. Because I know we're going to lose. All of those games, we're going to lose them. I'm telling you this.
Dietrich, man. Dietrich.
Look, I'm not
we love you, Dietrich. This is why we love you, Dietrich.
I'm not trying to be negative, I swear. But like when I look at the Davis defense and Emerson, I'm not confident we're gonna win a game.
I thought we'd get a result until I realised that Romero's out for 3 games. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, but come on, man, Dietrich. I mean, we're going to have a beer and that. What do? Bring a rope out with us for afterwards as well. Come on, man, it ain't that bad. I mean, seriously, come on, man.
You're right in as well.
Bad, you know what I mean? Like hug each other at the same time.
Look, I would love to.
I think looking at that, I think we lose to Villa. I do. I think we lose to Villa.
But we're losing against City too.
Do you know what? Crazy shit happens. I think we'll pick up a point against City.
Stop saying that.
I think we'll pick up a point. Honestly, I do. And then West Ham, we beat Man City with some horrible squads in the past. We like their bogey team.
Yeah, but
we are their bogey team.
I think we nick a point. Probably beat. I think we'll beat West Ham because they're shocking now. I think we get 4 points. I think we get 4 points.
I think we get 4 points.
I think we get 4 points.
With Villa.
Newcastle the same. Newcastle the same predicament as us. So, do you know what I mean?
We're gonna get.
Tripper's got mad in the fan. You know, he was like, he's got injuries. I thought he was going to jump in the crowd and start punching up fans. That's how emotional.
Come back to Spurs. We could use you, Trippier.
Exactly. Come back.
I mean, I think we get 4 points. We get a draw. We get a draw with Villa, lose City, win West Ham, lose Newcastle, depending on how many more injuries they get, and they are going to get because they have got more games than us, Champions League and whatever else. But out of that, I could see us getting 4 to 5 points.
Dan, you gotta give me what you're smoking, honestly.
I said it to be fair. But I guess I'm not smoking right now, so yeah.
Well, mate, that's why I try and roll it before we start.
Guys, what a shoot off, yeah. Big up, thanks for having me on.
Ash, good to see you, my friend. Haven't seen you for a while. Take it easy, bro. Just give it. What's your points? Points total. How many are we getting?
Yeah, I agree, man. I think Newcastle. I could see us getting something from that. I went home as well, 3 points, because Romero will be back by then. 3 points. Oh, it's not looking good, bro. It's not
Romero
looking
gets sent off again.
I'm not sure about. Ooh, West Ham. I think West Ham will draw 4 points. I'm not confident with City. I'm
in that bracket. Right, Ash, take it easy, mate. Take it easy.
Good.
Take it easy, brother. In a bit.
See you later, man.
Right. Ash I've gone 4 or 5 points between. We can't have between 4 and 5 points, can you? But I think I'll say 4. I think no. Do you know what? We'll draw against Newcastle. I'm going to say 5. Jacob, how many points do you think we're going to get? Dietrich says 0.
2. I reckon we'll lose. I'm very confident we'll lose our next 2, and then we'll somehow get a doggy draw at West Ham and Newcastle. The thing is, though, like we all say, football is a weird game because imagine if we come back from the international break. You know, Tottenham fans are all going to be doom and gloom, aren't we? You know, they're all going to be turning up at the stadium thinking, how is he going to be? Now, what Dan said, I was having a little think about, and he got a good point that, you know, we've seen Villa go to Nottingham Forest and lose, and are Nottingham Forest better than us even with a depleted squad? I don't think so. So it's like if Villa turn up off form and we get a result, you know, let's say we go and get a 2-1, and then you go to Man City, and the likelihood is we're going to lose. However, if you've beaten Aston Villa and gone sort of and bridged the gap there, that confidence comes back slightly. Now, if you go to Man City and dig in, the likelihood is you probably still lose, but as long as you don't get battered, you can go into your next 2 home games and try and think to yourself that if you've beaten Aston Villa, you should be able to beat West Ham and Newcastle. So I'll say 2 now, but if we go and beat Aston Villa, it's 3 for a start, and it's a different story, isn't it? So.
And it gets us on a roll again, doesn't it? This is why the Villa game's so key. We've still got Maddison out, I think, past the international break. I know we're missing a week. He still will be out. Of course, VDD will be. Romero's banned, and Udogie looks injured as well. So we're not going into it strong. But if we do pick up points there, even just a draw, it could bode very, very well for the future games. If we lose to Villa, I could be looking at, I may be in agreement with Dietrich to a certain extent. Because...
no, you know what? The thing is with the West Ham game, yeah, it's the same as a Chelsea, Arsenal, whatever. It's a London derby. It doesn't matter who's on form and who's not on form. It seems to always go out the window. But yeah, when it comes to Man City, I think we're definitely all going to be walking home like John Wayne. And I think a limp is going to be an understatement with this one. Because if we go attacking with them and that's just going to be no loop. We're going to get battered, literally.
Benjamin
but the others... I think we stand a chance.
Losing to the Spanners at home will be a nail in the coffin. It's so crazy. We were talking about this guy, like free manager of the month on the bounce. He's certainly not going to be getting it this month. But how we turn so quickly. And I'm not saying this is what Benjamin's saying. It's probably not what Benjamin's thinking. It's knowing the Spurs fan base, the majority of the fan base, and how they how they operate. It
is. It is. It's true, and we've done it for year after year after year. I mean, everybody was all happy with Conte's style of football, or they didn't like the style of football. But when he got us to 4th place, no one really cared. When we sorry about the fireworks, when they were still in 4th place and we were still winning games 1-0 and that, even though we didn't like his style of play, we were still keeping quiet with it, and then it all went tits up and we turned on him.
Right.
The thing is that you're right with the fan base as well, because you know the problem is, it's like, you know, the old tactic that's been used in wars and, you know, all that stuff about divide and conquer. Now, the problem is that with Tottenham fans, no matter how the season's going or how it's been for the last 3 years, you've always got 5 different sections. So it gets to the point, you've got the Levy inners, you've got the Levy outers, you got the people that want the youngsters, the people that want to spend 70 million, the people that are talking about Harry Kane, is he going to stay, is he going to go? Now, while we're all fighting, imagine if Daniel Levy could watch all of us on TV or watch us on all these social streams. He'd just laugh at you and go, why are you lot all squabbling? I'll still get my money. Now, if everybody in the round was on an even kill and you said like sort of 70% were happy to chat like we do on a Tuesday, the likelihood is we'd all come to a common ground. And when you're doing like a protest, instead of having like 8 people and 4 dogs, there's 80,000 people turning up, and Daniel Levy probably do something.
It all goes back to the bloody Vikings and Saxons.
Exactly,
Vikings were coming in and tearing us up. What did King do? He managed to split them up into about 4 different groups, and he found it easy enough to pick them off one by one and get them turned on each other because he paid that one money and give that one ground. They didn't like it. They switched. And then we just plotted them off, basically. But it's much easier to fight 4 or 5 different little armies than it is one big army. And that's what Spurs always is. 4 or 5
Daniel Levy, what he's doing as well, he picks up, there's that, what you said, and what he picks up is what the Romans used to do. So whenever they needed to do something, what they do, they just set up a nice little show. There'll be gladiators, there'll be people getting hit by lions. So it's the same with Tottenham, you know, while the fans are arguing, just chuck in an F1, chuck in a, you know, you can climb up the stadium and that, and then they've just literally done what the Romans done. So we're all like, oh, this stadium's like, it's like Disneyland now, isn't it? But then they just keep getting it, they're getting more money by chucking in more stuff. It's just, but like I said, if everybody was on the same wavelength, then it gets to the point when you can fight as a unit. Like you look at United fans, because they probably in the round have been successful for so long. So when a lot of them are on an even kill, when they break into the stadium, there's thousands of them. You know what I mean? That's when the Glazers are, all right, cool, you can have a Sancho, you can have an Anthony, you can have all this, you can have the manager as well.
We'll sell the club. We'll sell the club because they're selling the club.
You get what I'm saying? Whereas, you know, like them protests, I love the people that go to the protests, but it's like, you just know there's going to be 100 people max.
I'm the same. Look, a lot of the people we get regulars on the show, especially on the Tuesday. Stell's here most Tuesdays. Brian Daigle, I've probably had him on my show more than I have anyone else in 2 years, 2.5 years. And they're the ones that are regularly there if Daigle's in the country, of course. And I love them to bits, but I'm telling you, the fans, they will not support you. This fan base will not support you. I said in the summer, the Man United fans, 10,000, because they did not like the design of their home shirt. They got 10,000 people protesting. Fucking hell. 46 transfer windows, 23 years, 1 Carabao Cup, and we pay the highest season ticket prices. We earn the most matchday income. It's unbelievable. We pay the highest season ticket prices. That was up 10% or 15% before the season started.
Over 3 years.
Prices. It's incredible.
We had the biggest income in sport.
We still don't protest. We still can't get the numbers.
You know what it is? Because in the round, Tottenham fans don't like to admit it, but compared to other clubs, we have a small club mentality. It's like over the years, it's like if Arsenal finish above Tottenham, it's kind of been like, well, that's what we're supposed to do. But then when Tottenham have done it, everyone's going out for a party. Do you know what I mean? When Tottenham get top 4, it's like a trophy. When Tottenham get to a Champions League final, it's like we've pretty much done the job. Because in the round, we've got a smaller club. Not I want to go as far as small, like a Burnley, but we haven't got the big club mentality in the round. And Daniel Levy has clocked that to perfection. And I always say to people, as much as you don't like Daniel Levy, imagine being Daniel Levy. You know, if Daniel Levy was my dad, I'd be like, you're smashing it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like he's killing it. He's killing it because he's got a club. He bought them at a time where they're not expecting, you know, Premier Leagues, FA Cups or anything, because even though they're a successful club in the past, they haven't been successful for ages. So if we come in there, do what we want, give them a little bit more success, instead of them finishing sort of 13th, 14th, all we've got to do is elevate them to 6th or 7th and get them a little bit closer to a cup. And we can do what we want here financially and take money out of the club. And as long as we get a bit more excitement than we used to in the days of Jason Dezelle, everybody's happy. And
well, you know what it is? It's the perfect saying of, as soon as he does a little thing for us, we like it, and then the fans seem to like go up like, please, sir, can I have more, sir?
Exactly. There you go.
And we put our heads down and walk away.
Yeah, sorry, I have to go. I'm so sorry.
All right, I was going to ask for your predictions, but you've given it. So 0 points. 0 points. Yeah, no, I'm games from Dietrich.
I'm not even trying to be like taking the piss out of everything, but I really think we're going to get 0 points. My personal opinion.
Okay, we'll see, man. Yeah. We'll have you on when we get 12 points out of 12. We'll have you back on.
All right, guys.
Take it easy,
Take
man.
care, fella.
Dietrich.
Good chap, Dietrich. Probably why he doesn't show his face.
Yeah,
I mean, Spurs fans have a lot of big issues with this toxic negativity. I don't think it's toxic. I think two negatives make it positive, and I think it's sometimes important to be critical. We're not critical enough. This is why, you know, Jacob hit the nail on the head. Everything Jacob said there hit the nail on the head. And somebody else said this on another show, Stockholm Syndrome. That's what this is. This is Stockholm Syndrome. You're used to, you know, you keep your fans hostage, right? So we're keeping our fans hostage. We're used to rations, these little pieces of bread. So when we get something a little bit better, like attacking football, everyone's going crazy. This is why, looking at the reactions to the fans when we win in games against Sheffield United, I'm like, this is fucking over the top. This is crazy. 2 late goals. It's madness. Why are we like this? It's because we've been fed so little. When we get something slightly better, we go in overdrive. It's a weak owner in terms of giving us what we need to win things, alongside a weak fan base. You're destined. You're destined for 1 Carabao Cup in 23 years with those two things. It's as simple as that. And this is a weak fan base. It hurts to say. Born in Tottenham, for 34 years. Give my age away there. This is a weak fan base. That's fundamentally
the thing that shows it, Tom.
That's fundamentally why two losses time Ange out placards will be rising.
Yeah, exactly.
Stages.
The
I
thing that
guarantee it.
is,
I guarantee it.
it's like I've said to people, Ange had a very hard job coming in here. Yeah, Tottenham was a mess, but one part he had easier than any other manager has ever had was to win the fan base. Not United necessarily with themselves, but to win it for him so that he gets a chance. Because we was that drained that all he had to do was play attacking football. And if we'd been in 7th place at the moment, but still been playing attacking football, people wouldn't even be arguing. He had the easiest job in the world. There you go, boys, attack. Straight away, he won 90% of the fan base. In that bit, he had an easy job. The rest of it, no, it isn't. But that just shows how deprived we have been over the past 5 years, let alone past nearly 20 years.
You know what it is as well? Like when I say about small club mentality, it's not just the fans, it's just across the board as well. It's like, you know, when like we lost 4-1 to Chelsea, yeah? And fair enough, I admit there was some good things I saw about that. But then, you know, when you see the comments and it's like, Tottenham was so brave. Tottenham, you like, the way they were talking about Spurs was like Burnley went and did that. Do you get what I'm saying? Whereas if that was Man United or that was Man City or even Chelsea themselves, I don't think those clubs would have been called brave for doing that. Like a manager might get chopped for doing that. But at Tottenham, it's like, oh, it's brave because one, we don't win anything. And it's like, the media don't take us seriously. Why do they need to take us seriously when realistically our fans don't take us seriously ourselves?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I still think what he did with Chelsea was the right thing. Because no matter
course.
what we had there, we was fucked if we didn't, fucked if we done. And we nearly got goals out of it. It showed that there was a legit reason to do it. All right, we didn't get the goals, but it came close. One of them should have been a goal because it did it the Chelsea player last. There was tactics to what he was doing. And it was because it was Chelsea, he took that chance. Because Chelsea aren't what they were. And they're still building themselves up. If it would have been Man City or pretty much any other team in that, because when we went down to 10 men against Luton, we didn't do that. So I definitely think, even though it looks a bit crazy, he had the right idea.
I think
you're right in what you're saying.
I think horses for courses. We talked about this last week. Certain games you wouldn't do it, but Chelsea, we looked very good. We looked outstanding, and it took them the 74th minute to get that second goal. So, and we had chances. You know, as you see, Dier's goal should have counted. Bentancur missed pretty much an open goal. So at that time, that was the right decision. So anybody that disses that is negative towards that. I have a issue with. I can have a debate with and disagree.
Yeah,
because I do think it was the right thing to do. I'm with you there, Dan, 100%.
Yeah, and I've had the debate with a couple of people online. But again, it's opinionated. So
what it is like for me, whatever it was like, oh, bless little Tottenham with everything that was going on.
I agree.
You know what it is? You know what it is? Like I've got my best mate supports Arsenal. I don't think he would have come in. I don't think he'd have been clapping that if that was Arsenal. But I was there clapping, and it was brave. It was good. But then it's because I've been, you know, I know my football. It's like I know that we're not a big club. I know if we're a big club, then we're not elite. Do you get what I'm saying? We are a big club, but then we're not. You know, when it's like, you know, we're all pretty much around the same age. You know, when like Tottenham all of a sudden started competing for top four with Martin Yeo, and then it got to the point where you finally finished in there, it felt like you had to chuck you out in a bit.
Well, the other mad thing is, I mean, technically, we are a very, very big club, almost elite in the aspect of, I think we're City, Arsenal, Chelsea, then us. Yeah, we're sixth with the most won. But it's where we've done nothing over 20 years and so drained that technically we shouldn't even be in that. But if you go by size of club, amount of supporters worldwide, incoming money, we're one of the top dogs. It's just...
You are right, because the only thing we get wrong is the most important thing. Like, put it this way, if Daniel Levy just said, you know what, we've smacked everything, all we need to do is get it right on the grass, the mad thing is he makes even more money. Because if you're winning titles and, you know, your football's spectacular and you're challenging in a big way, you're going to be getting more people buying tickets and selling out every week, which he probably does anyway. But for me, I think it's got to the point where when we had White Hart Lane and all that stuff, it was top 4 was important to Daniel Levy because he just needed the money, knowing that they were going to get the stadium. Once they got the stadium, I think he looked at the stadium and the amount of money that it's making as a club. He's like, even if we finish 12th, we still get loads of money.
We make more money out. We make more money out of football than we do in football.
Fourth is not important now. Everyone talks about fourth. It's not important now with the stadium.
Everton,
before the stadium, fourth was key. We needed the money. Now we don't need fourth. We only need to get fourth for Levy for the fans to be like, oh, right, we've got fourth. We're still competing. But take it.
Just one thing here. Everton haven't won a Champions League trophy. The other ones that have done that is Nottingham Forest and Villa. I'm pretty sure Everton haven't got a Champions League trophy.
No, well, I don't think he said Everton. I think he did say Villa.
It's Villa.
I was reading the...
He said, I think someone else said about Everton winning FA Cup titles.
No, it's Villa, where I read that and went down to that.
Massive club. Jacob probably knows that from the Midlands, but Villa and Leeds. Villa and Leeds are huge clubs.
Mate, Aston Villa, real talk. You go to the stadium. I've been to Villa Park loads, mate. It's like you just feel it. You just feel they're a massive club, man. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, when you go to the stadium and you live here for like 10 years, they are big, man.
And they didn't win the bloody European Cup in 1922. You know, they won it in the 80s against Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
Mid-80s against Bayern Munich. They're a very fucking good team. Very, very good team. Like, I'm a big cricket fan. When I go abroad, there's more Villa and Leeds fans than you'll see anyone else. You know, they're they're everywhere. You know, and their travels. They're it's a big fan base. But in terms of money, there's no one bigger than us, really.
It was Nottingham Forest that done it back to back.
Forest done back to back, didn't they?
Yeah, Forest done Champions League back to back.
Twice. I think they won 2 European Cups on the trophy, didn't they?
He's right. Villa did do that. It's just where I read his first comment, it said Everton. I got it mixed up. Yeah, he's 100% right. Villa have won Champions League or Champions Cup, whatever.
Because Tommy went through the comments really quickly, so you would have just looked up and then looked up again. Really
Either way, he's right what the fella said. But we are the 6th biggest winners of overall cups in the Premiership, as far as I know. But we've just done nothing in 20 years. And the way it goes at the moment, I don't see nothing else coming anytime soon. Unless we get an FA Cup out of chance. Because it's just getting harder and harder.
I think what kept us so in there with neutral fans was that we won so many domestic trophies. We're the domestic trophies winners. And Arsenal have had their worst decade for the last 60 years, and they've won 4 FA Cups. They've won more FA Cups than us now, and this is their worst period. We don't even have that anymore, really. It's you know, we've got a lot of trophies, but they're FA Cups and League Cups, and now we're behind Arsenal.
Yeah,
you know, it is what it is. But we mentioned Chelsea briefly. You went back to the Chelsea game. Now I want to talk about this because since I started streaming, his name comes up all the time, and we played Poch last Tuesday. Do you think, Jacob, down the line, Spurs fans, again, the Spurs fans that you know, the Spurs fan base that you know, will ever pine to get Poch back again?
Somehow. Of course they will. It's just as long as Poch. This is what I say about small club mentality again. Because if we were a club, you know, you look at Chelsea, for instance. I've got a mate that supports Chelsea. My son is my cousin. It's like I don't think I could. If I said to him, name a manager that you know sticks with you and you wish you could have him back right now, he'd probably look at it and go, nah. And they had Mourinho winning all of that stuff. They had Conte. They had Scolari done all that. Ancelotti. But I guarantee if I said to him, would you bring anything back now? Even though Ancelotti's still smacking it, he'd probably say nah. He'd look elsewhere and be like, right, they've had a Tuchel that's won them a Champions League. Do you want him back? Nah. Whereas we're still, I know Tottenham fans that would take Martin Jol back. Do you know what I mean? I don't even know if he's still alive, but it's like
he's about 80. I think he lives in Amsterdam near the red light district these days.
He does.
80s. He's loving life. He don't need a manager's job, but I know
that's
what
I'm saying. Take him back. It's like I love Poch, and like I'll be real. When we got rid of Conte, part of me was like, yeah, get him back in, because I was looking at the options that we were looking at, and because we'd finished our European football, I was like, right, if the guy wants it, let's just, as much as I wanted him to come in and make sure he smashes it, if he doesn't smash it, that just puts it all to bed. That's just like, right, okay, Poch has come back, the dream's over, Daniel Levy didn't back him, now can we move on? But it's like, It doesn't really matter who comes in. It could be Poch, it could be Ange, it could be one of us. The problem is that Daniel Levy don't care about the football. All he's doing is hiring managers to just shut us up. That's all he does. He hires managers to shut us up. When the fans are kicking off, he just buys a Maddison. And then he knows if you buy a Maddison, shut him up. Oh, you're making noise. All right, then cool. We'll just buy Dembele, break the transfer record. That'll shut you up.
We are too easy to shut up, isn't it?
We're too easy. This is what I'm saying. All it takes is like, we could be playing bad. Let's just say we lose to Villa and everybody's like, oh, it's a meltdown. We beat Man City and everyone's jumping around. Everyone's, ain't going home to their missus till Monday morning because we beat Man City.
That's what I get toxic. I get called toxic because I'm not reactionary. I'm not as reactionary as some people. To be reactionary, Jose Mourinho, we took a Chelsea legendary manager. Did you see any Chelsea fans complaining? No. Yeah. We took AVB. Did you see Chelsea fans complaining? No. We took Conte, who won. He was the last one to win the league with them in 2017, and he won an FA Cup with them. Chelsea fans, are they angry? No.
Do you know what most of the Chelsea fans done with that? They laughed at us and said, "Watch how he fucks you over after a year."
We sing songs about Poch now. We're still singing songs about Poch being a prick for taking the job every game. We're still
even some of the songs we sing, man. Like look. I was having a joke with my mate at work, and I was like, that, if you look how we are here for the first 10 games, it was unbeaten. The stadium turns into a nightclub, and we're all singing "I'm loving Big Ange" instead. You heard that song sung since?
There you go. That's
it. Us up, man. I bet you don't hear that song again.
Those tweets they'll put out, the retweets, they're all getting on retweet. Like we lose the next game, they're all getting on retweeted, and we're not going to see it on their timeline. Whatever social media they use, it's all going to be gone. That is my pet hate. We had a VDV song before he played a fucking game. I know he's done well, but we spend more time thinking up songs than we do protesting. If we protested as much, we'd have a better squad.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that. Like it's just the songs.
I'd love to go protest.
One point I bring up.
Go on.
One point I bring up here is a lot of people, me included, up until about a year and a half, 2 years ago, was always complaining that Levy's tight and he don't spend no money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that. It's just we don't spend it on the right players. I think we're in the top 5 spending clubs over the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where we have a different manager each time. We're buying players for that manager, and then it starts again, players for that manager, but you've now got the other players from the previous manager there. We do actually spend money. One of our biggest problems was it was the wages. We just did not go up to standard with the bigger teams' wages.
And so the players we spent money on could only be young players because the potential would be there, but they wouldn't demand the highest wages. That's the error we've been making over the years for me.
And another thing as well is Daniel Levy, like the money that we spent, Danny's right, because when you do look at it, there is quite a lot of money spent. You'd probably go as far as saying a third of the money that was spent is by Daniel Levy himself. So like, for instance, with that Jed Spence thing, it's like, imagine you're a manager at work and you go into Daniel Levy and you say, right, we need someone in the call center. We need a woman that's got this experience. We got this. We need her to be telephone etiquette, all that stuff. And then he sits there in front of you and goes, I know just the person. You're like, who's that? My mate Steve. I asked for a woman with telephone etiquette that's polite, and you're telling me that. And then the next thing you go, here you go, Jake. Got someone for you. Who's that? Meet Steve. Well, what's he doing? Yeah. Oh, you wanted that position filling, didn't you? It'd be wicked. And I'm like, well, can I have a word with you, Dan? What's that? I needed a woman. Why? Well, that's what you asked me what I wanted to make sure that this call center blossoms. I said a woman with good telephone etiquette. You give me Steve and his voice is gone. Well,
yeah, but look, come on, man, be realistic. It's not about Adam and Eve and a woman anymore. It's all about Adam and Steve anyway. So what does it matter?
What I'm getting at basically is it's like, no matter what job you do, you need if
I know what
any manager's saying this is what I want, Daniel Levy just wakes up in the morning and goes, "Now I'll give him that instead." And it's like, well, and then when that player ain't performing, like Jed Spence was up and coming youngster, everybody wanted Jed Spence, but all of a sudden, like, he's on loan in the Championship again. It's like,
yeah. And it's like when Redknapp said, right, I need a striker and I need a midfielder. Put his names down, and he got what? Louis Sahar and
Ryan Nelson. And wondered why we went from second to fifth. Like,
yeah, trying to give up, innit?
Didn't we sell Berbatov? Didn't we try and hold out for money, more money?
Yeah,
we ended
that's
up
right.
we ended up accepting the same amount Man United gave us initially 6 weeks before.
It's just Sahar we got,
and they gave us Fraser Campbell on loan. Because he played for Man United, and they gave us Fraser Campbell on the final day of the transfer window because we had nowhere else to go. You know, that goes to show where we are as a club. That's pretty much determined everything he's done since then. Final day of the window, signings as well. I saw some tweet today saying, Ange is not looking. He thinks the squad's pretty balanced. But if someone comes up and is available in January, Spurs are willing to wait until the end of the window to look at the targets. Like, fuck
yeah,
you just get leftovers. You get leftovers.
Yeah,
remember, Tommy, when you put something, was it you that tweeted something and said that, I'm sure it was you that said that what will happen is come January, we'll all be, you know, you get all the transfer rumours, all the gossip, and then what will happen is all of a sudden there'll be a picture of Maddison and Van der Ven in training, and they'll be, oh, it's like new signings.
I can't remember. I tweet so much shit.
I don't know if it was you. I thought it might be you, but it's just, that's how it goes, doesn't it? You get to January, we'll get all our players back. Somehow, you know, with transfers, I don't even bother looking at the gossip and the rumours. I don't see the point because you know that it ain't going to happen.
Well, do you know what I mean? After what I think Tom's going to bring up in a minute, we'll understand why.
Okay, cool.
It's just, we don't ever seem to go for the right stuff, and a lot of things we do seem to do it cheaply on or whatever, or the ones that we go big for, we spend double on them what they're bloody worth, and they always go tits up. We just don't see, our spending money is just terrible on what we spend it on, basically. It's not that Spurs don't spend the money, and one thing you can definitely see with Spurs, we are one of the, what, I'd say 3 clubs in the Premiership that can actually just support themselves without having to sell players and do other things to get the money up. Like Chelsea, they can't support themselves. Yeah, their owners are multi-billionaires, but on the football side of things, they can't support themselves apart from selling the youth players. We're not a selling club anymore. All right, we just sold Harry Kane, but how long did we keep him for over what he wanted to stay? We haven't had to get rid of best players and that since Kyle Walker, maybe. We can support ourselves, and we have got a lot more money than we do spend, but we just spend it on the wrong things. That's what needs to get sorted now. And until we give a manager at least 3 years and give him decent money to spend, where do we want to go?
Do you know what, right? This is, Levy enablers hate this, what I'm about to say now. They hate me saying Spurs have been lucky in the last few transfer windows because it takes it away from us being a greatly run club. Bentancur and Kulusevski signings both turned out to be very shrewd signings. It happened final day of the window. It happened for one reason and one reason only, because Juventus had to make up the numbers. They sold Vlahovic, they got rid of Zakaria. Bentancur and Kulusevski, they said, okay, we could lose them somewhere. And then, you know, Paratici, he's got an affiliation with Juventus. He's like, oh, we'll get him. Final days before the window, we were able to get Winks out, Dele Alli out. It was lucky. Things had to fall in place for us to get Benny and Kulu the final day of the window. Don't get me wrong. They worked out fantastic signings. Porro, last January, we weren't interested. We opened negotiations in the first week of the window. We waited to the very, very final day. The only reason we signed Porro, who hasn't been great anyway, he's been okay, was because social media took effect. Social media is powerful now. The day that it looked like the Porro deal hadn't gone through, Levy out, Levy out, Levy out. So many people were tweeting it. It's the first time I've seen Levy out that hard. He flew to Portugal. He got the deal done. The last couple of windows, we've been so late in signing players, and we've been fortunate to a certain degree.
Well, the other thing was,
what's going to happen this January? We've had the Sahas and the Nelsons before. For me, that could be this January. Law of averages.
The start of the summer transfer, it actually looked like we meant business, and we got a couple of players in, and then it basically went dead until the end. You just can't.
It's the same as the window before, because we signed Spence mid-July, and we didn't sign a single player for 6 weeks in that window. And it's the same summer window. Before that, it was we sign players too late. We never get the balance right. Why can't you just sign players gradually over the window at the start, during, and at the end? We seem it's one or the other with this.
It's either left or right, isn't it? It's either black or white, left or right, whatever way you want to say it. It's just one way or the other way. There's no sort of in-betweener on it, is there? Exactly. I mean, look at the other stuff of like players that we're interested in and this and that. I mean, a couple of things I've read is that Juve have basically made us an offer with Vlahovic saying they want 70 million for him. I don't see that happening personally. And there's other players that we're meant to be looking for. They're slowly starting to hit the media now and everything because we're getting closer to January. But out of all the ones that we'll probably be linked with the issues we got at the minute, it'll probably be 100 different players. It'll probably be none of the players that shows on the side that we actually get. Because I'm sure we will make 2 buys in January.
This is, it depends if we can get players out as well. We need it. It depends if we can get players out. One of the worst was asking for Skriniar and getting Rodon. Yeah. To be fair, Rodon's doing all right for these, but we need a centre-backs badly. And to go to Rodon from Skriniar is one of the very, very worst. I agree. I haven't even put this up. You haven't even asked once, but please make sure you smash a like if you haven't already done so. We're coming towards the end of the stream now. As people know, on a Tuesday night, we end things with Muppet of the Week. There are plenty of candidates. This week. We are going to end the show with that soon. But please smash a like if you haven't already done so. And when we look back at the algorithms, when I look back at the algorithms, 8% of the people watching don't subscribe. So if you're watching, you haven't yet subscribed, please smash that subscribe. The target is to get to 3K as soon as possible. I don't think we're going to get there by Christmas. Let's say end of the January transfer window. Get us to 3K subscribers would be fantastic, and it's completely free. Now, I can't stop not bringing this guy up. I know it's annoying, but Harry Kane, 21 goals and 7 assists now. 28 goal contributions for Bayern Munich already, not just in the Bundesliga. 4 goals in 4 games in the Champions League with 2 assists. It's not even mid-November. Dan, you said we'd be, both of you disagreed with me a few weeks back, we'd be better off without Harry Kane. Do you still feel that way? Without Harry Kane, we're better off without Harry Kane. Do you still stick with that?
As a team unit, yeah, but obviously I agree that
at this moment in time,
anyone in the right, anybody would have Harry Kane in their team. Like if someone said to me, would I have kept him or got rid of him at the time there was negotiations? Of course, I'd have kept Harry Kane. He's the best striker in the world. However, it's been proven just because we've been at a slump in the last 2 games, it's been obvious that a lot of players have took a bit more responsibility. It's in the first 10 games we're all like Harry who. 2 games in, I see loads of people going on about, we should have kept this player. But it's like Dan said, you can't win with Spurs fans because they're all singing Harry Kane, are you watching? When we're 8 games unbeaten, we lose to Wolves and Chelsea and they all want him back.
He's absolutely tearing it out in Germany. I mean, he's
but look, that I said we shouldn't have sold him in the summer. It's not simply because he's doing well. I said I don't think we should be selling him this summer. Madison and Kane up top for a season, I think.
If we'd have kept Kane,
lose the £100 million.
We wouldn't have got Madison.
I couldn't give 2 shits about the £100 million that we'd get or potentially lose by letting him go on a free. Because it's not my money, and I know he's not going to spend it anyway. And he didn't fucking spend it, the £100 million. So that never bothered me about losing him on a free. Like, why do people care? This is the thing. I
don't get that.
But if that and I'm saying a big if that 100 million would have got spent on 2 other players,
but it was never going to that because previous evidence suggests that we will not spend that money.
We're seeing January. I mean, I know we've basically Spurs have gone on there and said like we've really got no money to spend in January, and I've seen a lot of Spurs supporters start going on one about it, and I'm like, well, hang on a minute, just on a business side of it, you'd be an idiot to go in there and say I've got a bag full of money. So, of course, we're going to say we got no money. But I still think we're going to get at least 2 buyers in January. And I think it's going to be, obviously, a centre-back, without a doubt. And it could be an attacking midfield. Attacking midfield forward instead of just a centre-mid.
The mad thing is, we're going to buy 2 players. And let's say we do buy 2 players, we're going to lose 3.
Keep Kane.
Yeah.
For a season. Keep Kane for a season. Get top 4. We'd definitely get top 4 now if Kane was there. Let him go on a free. Then you can attract some quality players by playing Champions League football.
I don't think we'd have got Madison if we'd have kept Kane, because Kane.
It was sort of Madison came first. Madison came first. Madison and Kane were together.
Look, Levy knew Kane was on his way, because one thing Bayern Munich needed was a striker. And that showed in their last season, where they won it on the last day, because the amount of draws they had where they should have actually finished it, but they just did not have a striker. It's like what happened with City in the Champions League 2 years ago. They just did not have that final striker.
But we rejected a bid for him from Man City. We could have just rejected a bid from Bayern Munich again. Why couldn't we just reject it? We did against Man City.
He knew it was going to happen. He knew he was going to sell him because there was only 1 year left on his contract.
That's why. That's why we sold him, because we lose the £100 million. This is what I'm saying. Don't give 2 fucks about the £100 million, because it's not my money. So there's, keep it. I can see where you're coming from, but again, as a team as a whole, I think we are better off without him, because we're not just focusing and relying on one player. I don't like the idea of just relying on one player. But then again, it shows how much we're also relying on Maddison, because we haven't got no backup. I mean, do you think Son can do this now? Do you think Son can do the Kane role? Because this is what Son's going to have to. This is what Kane had to deal with for the last 3 years. No Cam.
Yeah, of course it is.
He had no Cam for 3 years.
It was also played in a different way, but there's no way Son's going to come back and start making his own goals. That's not going to happen. That's not the type of striker he is. He's more of a poacher. He's more one that hangs about the box or just on the outside. That is where we need to. This is where we go back to what we were saying at the start, where for the next game, Postecoglou's got to make his decision on who he's going to use as basically our playmaker in front if he plays a 4-2-3-1.
I don't see anything. I don't see how we create without Maddison in this team. What I said earlier, Dan, you made a good point. Like, I think Kulusevski on the right that will be the best option for the team. But if we can get him in there, and if we can get someone to play as a cam and create, Kulu could be the man. I'm thinking, I said it a few weeks back. Bentancur, both-footed, like Eriksen. He attacks for Spurs. He scored goals and assists. Put him as a cam for now. Fucking Basuma and Sarr behind Bentancur as a cam. For me, it's a better option than Hojbjerg playing a flat 3.
Oh, Hojbjerg, we didn't even speak on him against Wolves.
Better option than playing Hojbjerg in a flat 3. That's just the way I see it. I know you're a massive fan of Hojbjerg, Jacob. I know Jacob's a massive fan.
On the Saturday, man. If I could go mad, I was horrible because I couldn't even say anything or vent my frustrations. But it was like, if you watched it live, man, on the ball he kept losing it, and all he was doing, which you probably wouldn't see on camera, is he just kept like barging Wolves players and trying to start little fights. And I was just like, and what he was doing is, so imagine like, someone's running past, you barge him, and then the player will be like, what are you doing? But then it's like, he's literally having a one-to-one, calling him a prick or whatever, and he's leaving the gap that he's supposed to vacate. So instead of concentrating, he's going around barging people, and it was impressing the Spurs fans, because the Spurs fans in the little droves were singing songs for Hojbjerg, and then he just got pumped up and started barging people about. But then it's like, well, you're costing us space, mate.
Well, it's like on the message that just come up there that I held up there for a minute, on give us our opinion on Johnson. I think he had a very poor game. All right, he got the goal, but apart from that, he didn't seem to make no effort to run at his winger or his defender. He seemed lost when he sat back. For me, I thought he had a terrible game. What do you two think? I mean, I know everyone did, but we're just going on Johnson.
Was it Palace? He came on off the bench and was very good. He was very good against Palace. Making a big assist, I think, didn't he? And he looked good early on against Chelsea before he had to get subbed off because we got the sending offs. In fact, he was one of the main reasons we were beating Chelsea. He was stretching their defence. As soon as we took him off, I think we struggled. And then, the other day, I'm in the same. It was a great first goal. Everyone, the Kulu, Porro, it was a good. Well-timed run to finish it off from Johnson. But he doesn't seem like he's not a £50 million player, is he? I think there's a reason Nottingham Forest took the money that late in the window, because he's a £30 million player, isn't he? He's 25.
But I do see a good player there. And give him a little bit of time.
We've got to remember, left is not his main position. He's never played on the
No.
left. He played up top
always on the
for
right.
Wales, and he plays on the right for Nottingham Forest for 2 years. I don't think he's worth that £50 million. I don't think he's the player we needed. I think we needed a striker at the time. But yeah, it's very, very, very tricky. We're going to see. We're going to see in the coming months. Richarlison's out for 2 months or whatever, so he's going to get. Hopefully, he's going to get a lot of game time, and he can prove Spurs fans wrong that don't think he's up to it. You know, he gets the money, got plenty of opportunities, so put it in, Johnson. Let's see what you got, man. Let's see what you got. I want to read this out as well. WTP is a big supporter of the channel. He must have put every position in the chat that we need improved. There are so many positions. We need backup technical midfielders. Is just one of them. We need a backup goalkeeper, WTP said as well. There's a whole lot we need in January. Dan says he thinks we'll get 2. I don't even think we get 2, to be honest. I don't think we get 2. But let's talk about plays out briefly. Now, Hotspur linked with Juventus. I'm going to skip over that because we're coming to the end of the stream. I'll probably touch on that more on Thursday, but he's been heavily linked. Don't see why.
Yeah.
We've got players going to the African Cup of Nations, but that seems to be the rumor. This is the one, though. This is the one.
Yeah.
Talking Bayern Munich, we've just been talking about Kane for a while. This must have something to do with the reports.
I've seen it on a few.
Dan, why is Dier being linked with Bayern Munich?
Oh, look. I mean, well, we have had 2 managers come in and like say he is extremely good, and one of them even said there's a world-class player sitting there. I mean, fuck knows where he is, but he definitely ain't at Tottenham. And I just can't see. If you look at their defence, they have a solid defence. They have a brilliant midfield, and they have very, very excellent up front now. I mean, Eric Dier for me doesn't even make a top 15 team. I think he is that poor. So why the hell would Bayern Munich be interested in that? But I've seen it on a lot of sites, on a lot of news sites and that they are meant to be genuinely interested. But
I didn't create this visual. I can assure you, Dan.
No,
this was already there.
I mean, well, if you remember before, like the show and everything earlier on today, I sent you one of the links to the page where they were saying it and that. And I just can't see how it's even possible. It just makes no sense whatsoever, let alone common sense. It's bollocks. It's got to be.
Someone's having a.
What do you make of it, Jacob? What do you make? Do you think his agent might have something to do with this? I think so.
I don't know, man. Maybe Harry Kane's feeling homeless, homesick, sorry, and just wants a mate there. And they're thinking, you know, put him in there. You might not play. You might come on in a pokal game, and me and you can have a few German beers and take the piss out of Tottenham for another 2 players that have left the club and won a trophy. Now imagine if Eric Dier leaves after all this year, goes to Bayern Munich and wins the Champions League.
He will, though, won't he? You know he'll win at least a Bundesliga title.
I'll just give up on Tottenham altogether. I'll just be like, you know what? You know, Emerson Royal might as well go to Real Madrid and win it as well.
Adam Cruz says, I hope he comes good. So that's on his previous statement that he doesn't think Brenton Johnson's going to be good. Of course, yeah, we all hope he does well, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. If you've not liked what you've seen, then that's fair enough because it costs a lot of money.
He's another player though. It's like you got your Sons, your Brennan Johnsons, and all these guys. Like Tottenham are probably. Maybe Liverpool are different because they don't rely on a cam really, but it's like every other team has got at least a cam or 2, and we've just got 1, and we've arguably
camel toe then. Right, carry on.
Camel toe, none of that, man. Yeah, we needed another one, and I was saying it the whole time. Like get Maddison in, but if you got another one in, then you're nice. You can play 2 of them at the same time. You can have one play as the main one, and then if there's an injury, you bring the other one in. You're so obvious. As soon as Maddison comes out injured, which he has been known to have 6 weekers in a season,
yep,
we are where we are now. Do you know what I mean? We literally are a Conte team, and I can't imagine Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson's not one of these players that's going to drop into the cam and bang off a long shot, but he's somebody that played well over the last few games just for the sheer fact he was linking up with Maddison. Like Crystal Palace, wasn't it Maddison that put him through to set up Son?
Yeah,
exactly. So it's like
exactly. Yeah, Dan said, Dier top 15 clubs. I don't think you're getting a fucking top 15 Scottish club. And Simply Ace puts League Two. He's a League Two centre back. Honestly, think he'd struggle in the Championship. Honestly, think Eric Dier would struggle in the Maybe as a DM, he could do something in the Championship.
Do you know what? Yeah, as a defensive midfielder, he genuinely wasn't that bad. I mean, you look at when he played for England in, what was it, the World Cup, wasn't it?
We had fucking horrible options, Owen said. We had like Febby.
I know, but he actually played all right as a DM. He actually did. I mean, I'm not saying he was great, but he definitely weren't bad. And then they stuck him as a defender, and he just, yeah, you really see how bad he really was. I mean, for me, he's got to go, but he ain't going nowhere till his contract runs out, and that's going to be next summer. So we're just going to have to deal with it, basically. But
we need to pick up Germany and do what WTP's doing here. Dier is a Spurs legend. Please buy and take him and give him his final payday. He's reliable, if you understand. We need to translate it into German and get over to the Bundesliga Twitter and get rid of Dier. If Dier could go, mate, I'd fly him myself. I'd pay for his tickets. I'd use all my money in my savings account to fly him first class to Munich. Eric Dier, I do not want him anywhere near this football club. I just don't believe it. It's lazy journalism for multiple reasons. Harry Kane, of course, has gone there. He's English expert, so we'll want Eric Dier too. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
look at really. Centre backs. I know Delight's injured, but Delight, Upamenko, Kim Min-jae.
Upamenko. Yeah.
Kim Min-jae.
I mean, they let one of my favourite players go to one of my favourite clubs. I thought Pavard was brilliant. I think he's a really good defender. I would have liked Spurs to go and put in a bid for him because I think we would have got him over Inter because we got more money to offer and playing in a better league.
Lazy journalism.
If they asked for Pavard, then we would have ended up just getting, I don't know, I can't even think of who we'd go and get. Daniel's mate Steve.
Well, but again, it's like he was. I think he was about 40 million when he went there, and we could have afforded that.
Yeah, definitely. I think United were after him as well, weren't they?
Yeah, and he gets in that French team above Saliba.
He's a good defender, he is.
Very good. I think Pavard was good, and he's another one we should have gone for. But either way, he went to
centre backs. Talking of centre backs, we've got Villa next. Langley hasn't played a single game from yet. Barcelona are gonna cancel his loan deal. So the only centre back got signed in his 3 windows there was Langley, and he literally cannot get a game for Villa.
Because Emery is a top coach. Like I remember Gary Neville said saying the other day, saying you take Klopp and Guardiola out of this scenario, who's the 3rd best coach? And he said Emery. And I sat there and thought he actually is.
Brilliant with Sevilla, one European
trophy. He's a top coach. I kept saying to people, because he's been to Arsenal, it's a bit of a tricky one, but I would take that guy at any given time. The guy is a top coach, man. Honestly, Arsenal fans, I don't understand. Like even now, he's been better than Arteta even after he's left.
Who's the last Arsenal manager that we took? George Graham, maybe. I think George Graham.
It was.
That was it. It doesn't happen, does it?
No.
But definitely should be up. Look how Villa last season relegation candidates under Gerrard.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
No, he's a good manager. He's a good manager. What they got.
Right, we're there. It's Muppet of the Week. Final part of today's stream. If you haven't already, please smash us a like. It's completely free. Yes. So, first up, M&S bags. I think they're the last ones to go paper. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I class M&S as the South Park of supermarkets. They're the bee's knees. I had a steak the other day, slipped out, nearly fell in the river.
They do.
This is Northern Europe. It rains 90% of the time. We need plastic bags. M&S. They've even gone cardboard. I'm not happy. Now, Daniel Levy, he's an exclusive member of Muppet of the Week. Lack of depth. We've seen the lack of depth. Clear as day. We sold Sanchez 31st of August, forced to play Dier and Royal the other day. Clear as day, just on the Wolves game. Eric Dier. That is Eric Dier.
I did it twice, man. I was like, is that him or?
I mean, man, what is that haircut all about?
Have you seen Harry Kane's look-alike as well? Have you seen Harry Kane's look-alike? Don't look anything like him. But that's fucking funny too. Eric Dier, what can you say? I think both goals were his fault, to be quite honest with you. First one, second one. Any of these? Any of the candidates I put up here, Dan, is your Muppet of the week? Or have you got one of your own? People in the chat. Who's your Muppet of the week?
I'm going to go for Tottenham as a whole. Because we really did look like a Muppet by the end of the game. We got what we deserved. So I can't just base it on him, because the whole team, bar maybe Davis, was extremely poor. And yeah, if I'd say Muppet of the week, it's Tottenham as a whole.
I've never had Tottenham as a whole. We haven't had Tottenham as a whole so far. So that's a first. Jacob, any of these candidates? You've got one of your own, my friend.
Yeah, I've got one of my own, mate. Well, Muppets of the week. The idiots that were giving the people that were supporting Palestine all that racist abuse and calling them terrorists. And one of them had an Arsenal shirt saying United Emirates on, cussing out Muslims. You know what I mean? Just an absolute Muppet. And then they're all there going, they're butting, they're all getting recorded. So, you know, I know you didn't want to take it political, but I just looked at them and thought, like, that's the standard of people that we've got all across the world. You've got somebody that's like cussing the Middle East, but when the Middle East is supporting and financially backing your club, you're all right with it, and you're wearing the top to back it while you're cussing them out.
That is double standards to the extreme.
That is an absolute
double standards to the extreme.
That's like calling me an N-word and walking around with a Malcolm X t-shirt on. You know what I mean? It's just stupid.
It's almost as stupid that it's not as stupid, because this is more of a big deal, obviously, the whole Palestine Israel debate. But the Spurs fan at the protest, remember the Enoch out protest? He had a bag. He's like, "We're not shopping. We're never shopping in the Spurs ground again." While Levy's at the club, and he had a Spurs bag with a new shirt in. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, tea towels, Spurs tea towels, or whatever. Holding the flag, like, fuck's sake.
It's like Henderson going to where he did, isn't he? A big LGBTQ XYZ plus whatever minus whatever, bigging up all that, and then he gets offered the money and that, and he goes into the country that kills people for it.
Yeah, that's mad,
so many people, they just contradict themselves on so much crap. I mean,
he didn't do it for the money, but he's playing. I think there was one game he played a few weeks ago, and I generally played in a crowd about the same size myself. Do you know what I mean? There's about 400 people there, and I was thinking I've played in front of about that many people myself. So it's like, yeah, you need to go for the money now.
Right, I think we're going to end the show there. We hit exactly 2 hours. That's what we like to do on a Tuesday, 2 hours and out. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, sub, hit the bell, and of course, Jacob, one on top. You have to go over to his channel, hit him up with a sub too. I think you've been a bit busy last few weeks. You're like me, you stream more when things are going badly, but that's just the way. That's just the way it is. So tell us what you got coming up, Jake. As I say, I'm sure you're going to be busy.
Yeah, I was gonna do one for the Wolves one, but you know that I normally do before, middle, and half of a game. I couldn't do half time because there was Wolves fans everywhere, so I didn't bother. And it was a bit sketchy. But yeah, I'll probably do another segment of Only Fools and Tottenham on Thursday. And it's just basically just me talking about Tottenham effectively. And like I said, when I get more time, because I've got my kids normally around the weekend, it's difficult for me to do videos, and then with my job, it's very difficult to get people on because sometimes it's a struggle to get on here. But then in time, I'll make sure that when I get my stuff going up and I get a bit more time, I'll get you characters on there as well and do a bit more stuff out there.
So get onto the One on Top Twitter. One on Top, you can see what Jacob's up to. Head over to his channel and subscribe. Do the same here. Next show for definite is going to be Thursday lunchtime, me solo, but Dan does sporadic ones. So, keep notified because you never know. You never know when one might pop up. And on Saturday, we have the Total Hotspur boys, midday Saturday. Well, actually, it's 11 now with time difference. 11 a.m. they go live. And they're good chaps. Jason Delane and his brother Brad. Good chaps. So, stay subscribed. And there's plenty of content coming your way. Big up to everyone in the chat as well. Thanks for the show. Yeah, it's a good one. I enjoyed it. So yes, stay safe, stay free, and stay classy, little whites. Peace.